hosting here today is Pramila Venkateswaran. She is the co-director of Matwaala and the organizer of the poetry event today. She is the former poet laureate of Suffolk County, and she has hosted many workshops and events and poetry readings here at the Birthplace, so she's a dear friend of the Birthplace. So we're thrilled to continue to that tradition of hosting, diverse events and poetry events. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to our host and co-director of Matwaala, Pramila Venkateswaran.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm just so delighted to see all of you. You took the trouble on a Sunday afternoon instead of going and lying on the beach to come here for poetry. That's fabulous. This is the 10th anniversary of the South Asian Diaspora Poets Collective. And Usha is the founder of Matwaala, and Usha and I are the co-directors of Matwaala. At this point, I just wanted to just look around and see the faces here in the audience. I want to recognize Chip Williford, our current poet laureate, and then Peyton, who is the director of Walt, Birthplace, who is unfortunately not here today. And of course, I want to thank Jennifer for making these beautiful flyers. I hope you all got the flyer. Isn't it absolutely gorgeous? And we have Deborah Hauser, again a former poet laureate. And we have Barbara Southern, again one of our former poet laureates. And we have the Matwaala Poet of Honor, Nazareth, who will be reading today. He was given the honor of Matwaala Poet of Honor a couple of years ago. So it's really feels a time of great honor for me to be here in the Whitman Birthplace on this 10th anniversary of Matwaala, because I consider this a sacred space in American history and letters. Whitman's vision for a human family based on solidarity with each other and with nature is similar to Matwaala's vision of building solidarity among different poets of color and for making visible the poetry of South Asians in the diaspora. Matwaala was founded by Usha, and as I said, she and I are co-directors, and we've been hosting festivals every year. And this is the 10th year where we are having almost 18 events around the country, beginning with the AWP in Los Angeles earlier this year. We'll be having a film poetry festival in Chicago on October 4th at the South Asia Institute. So you can visit our website, www.matwaala.com, for a full calendar of events. We've also been featured in the Writers' Chronicle, Poets and Writers, and you'll see so many articles that our poets have written. They're all on the Matwaala website. This poetry event today is supported by grants from the Huntington Arts Council and Poets and Writers, who've been generous and visionary in supporting poetry programs like ours. I thank Patty L. Hayek and Cassandra Matthews from the Huntington Arts Council. I thank the Whitman Birthplace and Caitlin and Jen for their vision in having a South Asian poetry event here to enhance their programming and make poetry available to the entire demographic on Long Island and New York City. At this moment of anxiety and frustration of events unfolding around us that jeopardize our security, poetry experienced in the community is one safe harbor we can enjoy that takes us both inward as well as connects us with each other. The poets you will hear this afternoon have spent years honing their craft and bring to us their varied experiences in their poetry. As South Asian American poets, they bring to us both the diversity of their backgrounds as well as their multiple influences from living in a multicultural society that has such a variety of literary traditions. In the 21st century, it is now mainstream to think of American literature as a braiding of different languages, lineages, each with its own social, political, and artistic evolution. South Asian poetry is one strand of this braid that continues to evolve with every new generation. Matwaala has featured 120 poets ranging in age from 17 to the 80s. I think we are at an exciting moment in American poetry where we can hear and experience the layered textures of the genre. Today our poets are Ramana, Prageeta, Sharma, Megha, Sood, and Nazareth. I would like to begin today by invoking the feminist spirit, the spirit of the goddess, as this is the eve of the 9-day Navaratri or 9-day goddess festival. So I'd like to share with you this poem called Warrior Chant. Do not count the hours. Suppress the hardness rising up in your throat. Breathe. Pick up the task where you left off. Blow the dust away to see the world. Engage every muscle of your soul to layer your point. Light, color, wings. Will your thoughts to the elements, your words, their animators. Believe what's a woman supposed to do, question, flowered at your past funeral. In recent lives, it has become chaff in the palm of your hand. Look wild, you are full of the unmaya, the light in the far reaches holding you up. Rest your image from the wife of, sharpen your trident, tuck your sari edge into your waist, adjust your seat on the lion's brilliant spine, readying for the fight. So with that invocation of that feminist spirit, let's hear these poets. Our first poet who will be reading with us today is Prageeta Sharma. I have all the detailed bios for you on the chairs so you can look at them. So her latest book is One Meant One, and the book is available for you on the table. She teaches at Pomona College, and I was just there last week, so it's really wonderful to see her again here today. And if you've never been to Pomona, it's a beautiful college in a lovely setting, and the students are absolutely marvelous. And I was like, I would like to be here. So she is also a recent recipient of the NEA Fellowship, the NEA Creative Writing Fellowship, and she is the Henry G. Lee 37 Professor of English at Pomona College. So welcome, Prageeta Sharma.
It's such a pleasure to be here with such extraordinary company. I just thank you, Pramila. Thank you, everybody, for this time and this wonderful Sunday together. I'm just going to just kind of dive in. I apologize because there are no more copies of my book. I just gave to people, to my fellow poets. But it just came out the 2nd, September 2nd, and I will just say a few words about this book. The title comes from the abstract expressionist painter Barnett Newman and his series that starts out with one mint, number one. So I wanted to think about the word one mint, which is an archaic word for harmony. That was I started to research the word, and it was also in his catalog for this series of paintings. And in the catalog, he has a passage from Faust, from Goethe's Faust. In a particular translation, the title of the poem of Faust opening up the Bible, the first line of that line is titled One Mint, and it said, I must translate it differently if I'm truly illumined by the Spirit. And one thing I was trying to do was move away. Actually, my father is a priest, a Hindu priest, but I am moving away from Hinduism. I've been widowed twice in under 10 years. I lost 2 husbands to cancer. So this book is about my second husband's passing or caregiving, but it's also trying to figure out a feminist discourse that I can kind of work through ideas that are about how would a poet explore one-ment with moving from more generalized scriptures to poetry specificity. So I'm just going, so they're also about, anyway, I'll just read a few poems before I just spend all the time talking. Okay, maybe this is a good one that will give you a sense. This title is A Memory of Its Ceasing, and I take lines from the modernist poet Laura Writing Jackson, who had been the partner of Robert Graves for 14 years and was a very eccentric, very dynamic poet. These lines from the poem, the telling, the memory we have in us of a time before physical time is the memory of this end. Our memory of utter soul being, possessed through the body's witness to what has occurred, is a memory of this season. I grew up in an old shamble house, now overbuilt, decorative for several decades, but now with a slight gangly tarnish of neglect. It's still full of Hindu and Christian idols and celebrities, Swami Ramakrishna, Sai Baba, and Jesus Christ. The idols still sit with and without purpose as officers, relics, and spiritual registers. I find I am now freely espousing, but also finding these marks of idolatry in poetry. And so this is about coming back to a normalized moment with this deep and yet numbered center. One that does not grouse at bitter states, not in the hot room of hibernated troubles. This is the one about when consciousness becomes exciting, or about developing a feeling of benevolence towards a meager process. This is about loving what is ordinary in its sentient one-ment, about loving a slow drain that drowns the enormity with oneself and the localized system of numbering my thumbs. This is about finding all the freighted blankets and figuring out that the itchy pain returns in syntactical tatters. It's about earning a kind of uninhibited hurting and finding that it is not an unfathomable creed without a lesson. This is about the eye that does the choosing of memories for a truer vision and seeing what might be down the vituperative road and freeing this vision from its shame. What kind of people are down the road from me? Who sees me in kindness? Who do I see back in kindness? I've tried to leave some coldness in the carols behind in search for a new library desk. This is about human consciousness, personality, and the abstract scripture I might try to induce. But there is loss. I'm losing my mother, who taught me that Hinduism has ethics in love and friendship, even when she's been coarse about all of it. I too have been coarse and thus lost meaningless friends, for which only I am weighed down in bouts of sadness. But to free it from pages, from falsities, how spacious. This is about coming back to oneself. No ramdas, no be here now, no om sitting in place. This is about sighs and succumbing. Spiritualism this, or about intention and spirit? What words are set to become the supreme self in the making? That which is a supreme Sunday turning into a Monday. Why is supreme set up to mediate value?
I'm just going to read one more.
I think I just had started to critique words like supreme and pure, and when they become these absolute, unattainable things, there's a hierarchy to that. Challenge. Okay, so this last poem is O1-1, and it's O-N-E and W-O-N. In it I found that the political discourse would love its ethical noon, a wonderment, a one sum, bewitching affinities built upon antinomies, abstract and expression, a wool cap of ornament for the sake of weather. Loving him helplessly anew helped, loving her helplessly anew helped, leaving it all behind, helplessly helped. Building around the moribund became a kind of blessing. I left constituents around the number one, and I won, and I felt simple and glad, and finally incandescent and comfortably large in my honesty, a kind of hanging of the rituals, the clothes, the sense of living them upright. I felt trouble pinging from my thumb muscles, but ignored the throb. I looked out and out into a dense and driven fog and said goodbye to its flavor. Goodbye to more than 10 years of saying, will you please love me? I wanted to birth a kind of abstract expressionism of the merely objective and the racialized lover of things. One meant or ornament, or I went an ornament, or I loved an ornament, and the one of myself resolved. I resolved, and thus I became into myself a one that I thought would never be allowed. I moved outside of the fog into a place that signified art.
Thank you so much, Prageeta. As you were reading, I was also thinking about many of the phrases in your poems, which were so interesting. Like the first poem that ended with "This is about size and succumbing," and I was like, wow, because I think many of the poems sort of show how one is, sort of turned inside out by grief, and I think that's what comes out in many of the poems. Our next poet is Ramana. She is an award-winning American author, poet, lyricist. She became the Youth Poet Laureate of New York City. She has performed at events such as the US Open, Tribeca Film Festival, TV One's Verses and Flow, and so on. The detailed bio is on your chairs. Her work can be found on the Poetry Foundation website and on the Academy of American Poets website. She's currently working as a librettist for an operetta film. Welcome, Ramya.
Hello, everybody. I just want to thank Pramila. Thank you so much for working so hard and putting this event together and inviting us. I grew up in Long Island, but this is actually my first time here, so it's been truly a treat. I met Prageeta actually years ago at this writer's residency retreat in Montana. And I just remember, even then, I just enjoyed, when we go to dinner and stuff, I always enjoyed sitting around her because she had the best conversations. But gosh, your work is so rich. I mean, I don't know, if you can all relate, but some poets, you feel like you've been taken out of your body a little bit when you're just listening. And I'm just so grateful to have heard you. So I have a mix. I'm gonna check the time so that I'm honoring the time here, but so I have a bit of a mix of some poems and kind of some prose. This first prose kind of piece is called Pomegranate Skies, and it's a story about my first time eating a pomegranate, so, which was in Long Island. Pomegranate Skies. My first time eating a pomegranate was when I was 7. Tanya and I ran towards every sample station at the Sam's Club down on Horse Block Road. Each vendor promising us a return of something new, a gift, or a portal towards a unique palette our tongues were itching for. It was the afternoon of a busy Saturday, so of course the line to wait for the little red rubies extended into what seemed like forever. I watched the worker stationing his knife into the pink red fruit, cutting carefully like curating an origami piece. I watched him and wondered if how he cut the fruit spoke to the meticulousness and patience of his own life. I watched him and felt a softening for him, how his hands steadied towards endurance, how he scouted out jewels for an impatient crowd, unmoved and yet anchored in his purpose alone. His presence quieted the pack. We all became wide-eyed witnesses to his mastery, his ability to hold stillness in the midst of. When we finally reached the top of the line, he packed about 15 to 20 of the tiny red beads into a sample cup with a plastic spoon. Daddy passed them to us and watched for our reaction. There's nothing like witnessing someone experience something for the first time, especially when you become a part of their experience of it. I'm convinced that this is why I love watching people open gifts or try something I cooked. Wonder and joy are symbiotic. To give it is to receive it. To receive it is to give it. We place the gems in our mouths and they burst open inside the cave behind our lips like fireworks. Our taste buds succumbing to its tart, its sweet, its world of red. More, please Daddy, more. Moved and excited to meet our desires, he went on the endless line for a second round to ask for more. The employees saw that Daddy waited in line for his daughters and flooded the sample cups to the brim. Each plastic container transformed from clear to red. Daddy saw our pleasure and wanted to indulge us. That day, Daddy bought us a whole box of pomegranates. His delight and our delight was always displayed through bountifulness. If we asked for 1, we'd get 10. If we asked for 10, he'd find every route to getting us 20, even if he didn't have the means for it. As soon as we got home, Tanya and I huddled around him while he was still lugging the rest of the groceries towards the kitchen. Okay, I'm coming. He undressed the bags off his hands and placed a giant pomegranate on the cutting board. We stared at his hands as it held a sharp knife like a rose, his focus like the precision of a praying lion, his hands with the knife exacting the fruit. I could watch him forever, his specificity towards abundance, his desire to offer us gratification. He cut open the fruit, unveiling the ancient crop, plucking out each seed and offering them to us, and then picking out the next seed again and again and again. And at this moment, Daddy was everything, my personal magician. There was nobody he couldn't be. There was no world of him that belonged to a no. I stayed in this moment as if housing myself inside of a hymn. I spooned the pomegranate into my mouth with the expanse of my palms, and I ate until I was satisfied. So let me see what I want to read next. Okay, I think maybe this one. So this poem is quite different from what I just read. It's actually an erasure piece from an article that the BBC published. It was about this girl from Bangladesh. Her name was Nusrat Jahan Rafi, who was who was killed for advocating for herself. And so this was an erasure piece, and it's after, for colored girls who once considered, so it's called For Brown Girls Who Once Considered Themselves. Burned to death for reporting sexual harassment, Nusrat was 19, a small studying of the hands. She said the headmaster repeatedly touched her. Things ran women in Bangladesh. What made her different is she went to the abuse, she gave it a statement, her courage in death being said. In the video, Nusrat is visibly distressed. The policeman is heard calling the complaint no big deal. Nusrat Jahan Rafi was a small, she came from a face of judgment in person and online. On March 27th, after she went to the police, they arrested the headmaster. Things got worse for Nusrat. People gathered in the streets demanding his release. Blame peopled against Nusrat. I tried, said Nusrat. Her statement took her to the roof of the school, saying one of her friends was being beaten up. When Nusrat reached the rooftop pressured her to withdraw. When she refused, they set her on fire. Killers gave a statement before she died, holding her head down with BBC. Doctors found burns covering 80% of her body. Fearing she survived, they unabled the ambulance. She recorded a statement on her brother's mobile. The teacher touched me. I will fight this crime till my last breath. On April 10, she died. Thousands of people turned out for her funeral in Feni. The following week, the complaint was transferred to another department. Everything in between bought the country. Let's see, so I have a few more poems. So this poem is called Forgiveness is a Doorway, and I've been thinking a lot about generational forgiveness and what it kind of means to do something different in your generation. So it's called Forgiveness is a Doorway. A garden of curses spill from her lips, and the city inside me crumbles. I tell myself all poison has once been poison too. I hear the names wretched and fallen, shameful and beneath. I tidy the cobwebs inside my mouth, remind myself what to call myself despite the atmosphere. My fists no longer fists but fling tendrils towards blossom. I try to imagine her as once silk, a pleated braid and a bowl full of ripe laughter before being drowned by the spoiled milk called relentlessness. What I mean to say is that the her is not a person, but a lineage, a balloon stoked with brokenness, the cobalt-carved silhouette that is history being needled open. It is hard to love people as muddied as myself. The temptation is high to be right and to be self-righteous about my rightness, to make a place out of the megaphone of resentment, though I know this road leads to where it always does, an empty, lonely mansion. I know the seat of grief is a safe place to begin, but a fatal dwelling, a sinking inside the bottomless fury of an unquenchable false promise of power. I think of images of grace as a remedy, the ground revealing itself after a cool winter of snow, a bed of roses growing where a home once burned, my father's stillness when shards of legal notices were thrown onto the porch, the contouring blood on my split lips disappearing once the morning arrives, my younger self on a bicycle, riding around in the giant O of a neighborhood. Sometimes I would ride in circles for so long I went past myself, my own giggle echoing out of me and into the sky. I'd laugh and see if the grass shook. I'd laugh and see if the clouds gathered as a witness. I'd race myself, I'd chase the cats, I'd find anything that had an eye and see if I could make it collapse in awe of me. Grace declutters the noise so the heart can reconcile the girlhood I long for the little girl in her that never got to live. A little girl in me will. Forgiveness is a doorway to return to the home of myself, that quiet garden, a quartet of tenderness. I think I have room for one more piece.
Yeah,
That's okay.
sure.
Okay. So let me just make sure I realize I messed up the entire order of everything. So this is another kind of prose short story piece. This was also taking place in Long Island, but a bit ways from here, all the way in Suffolk County, which I just found out today. My family doesn't live too far from Pramila. I think we live like 2 minutes away from each other. But this is our first time meeting, so what a treasure. It's called Pale Gray Kids. Some of these lines I actually kind of repurposed for the forgiveness poem, so if you hear them again, just know that I kind of just pretend you didn't. Pale Gray Kids. When I was 6, I would ride around a sea of homes on my bicycle, going around in circles, past the church, past the spot with the 8 kids, past Joey and Stephanie's house, and the corner with Nick and Steve, who harassed anything softer than themselves, which included their sunflower, stray cats, and me. I would ride past my own kitchen window, the smell of cardamom leaking like the wax of a candle, all the way towards the front yard. The neighborhood I lived in was round. It formed a giant O, wrapping us into each other. Sometimes I would ride in circles for so long I went past myself, my own giggle echoing out of me and into the sky. I'd laugh and see if the grass shook. I'd laugh and see if the clouds gathered as a witness. I'd race myself. I'd chase the cats. I'd find anything that had an eye and see if I could make it collapse in awe of me. At the center of our block, we had a hefty, rustic brown church. Noises would blast through the air every Sunday, though I never saw people coming in or going out. I only heard the thudding of songs stretching all the way to my bedroom. Joey, who lived in the gray house, Stephanie, who lived in the blue house until they painted it that ugly swamp green, Tanya and I all used to play hit the bush and run. Joey invented the game, actually. With a baseball bat glued to his hands, he'd call us over and explain the rules. Tanya, Ramya, look, take this bat and hit the bush. Then a bunch of bees are gonna come out and we're gonna run, 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 and whoever gets stung loses. Tanya went first and we ran. We dashed away before the bees could burst open their green curtain. We ran in fear and anticipation of being killed. After Tanya, I went. I hit the bush and we scratched the air with our screams. I hit it again and the buzz masqueraded the bush. I hit it a last time and a flood of little creatures came roaring. The bees were purple, like a faded lavender. That was my first time witnessing purple bees. And I wondered if purple was the color of rage. I imagined them safe in their cavern, making honey, then boom, making love, then boom, making conversation, then boom. We bolted and the bees missed us, just by an inch. By the time it was Joey's turn, we were convinced of our invincibility. We were convinced it was a secret to be kept and still a gift to be showcased. Joey hit the bush violently while the rest of us garnished the muddy ground with our footprints. We sprinted while the purple bugs flew towards us like bullets. One of the bees got to Joey and stung him like a rod of lightning. He cried so hard. He wailed until all the water inside him was emptied. I was convinced that the bees actually wanted me, but could only catch up to him. I thought this to be true and carried the weight of his sadness as my own. Joey's dad came to console him. I was always scared of Joey's dad. He was the guy you called if something was broken, the toilet, a leaking roof, a security camera installation, a crack in the driveway, a broken garage, to find the best way to keep the mosquitoes out the house. When he wasn't fixing something, he was either smoking cigarettes or arguing with his wife. Sometimes we'd hear a pot or pan being thrown to the ground from 3 houses down. He'd fix everything and damage his own. I wondered if it was just the house that was gray or everything contained inside of it too. One time Joey and Stephanie came to the backyard with a new discovery. Behind the backyard was a narrow road of sand. Behind the narrow road of sand there was a gate. Before we could enter, Joey made us pinky swear over the poison ivy plant that we wouldn't tell anyone of his latest find. We jumped over the fence, the barbed wire slippery like a wet snake to my shoes. Somehow I managed to get over it. The fear of being left behind motivated me into the other side. Behind the gate were hills of sand, sand with pregnant spots of more sand. We spoke of our Narnia to no one, not the parents, not even the older kids, nor the stray cats on the narrow road of sand, nor the anonymous voices that permeated the church. It was just us and the sand, our exclusive wonderland. We started meeting there every day. Joey always called the shots. If he wanted to play tag, we'd play tag. If he wanted to have a sandball fight, which is exactly what it sounds like, we'd get in position. I didn't mind Joey being in charge. He hissed and snickered, but always made sure to include everyone. He whined like a puppy and quit when he didn't win, but he always made sure everyone got a chance to play. He was violent and he was tender. He was his father's son. Occasionally, we'd see some bikers bike away. They never bother us, though if we bother them, I'm sure they'd sting. We came to this yard to play hide and seek, to make up a pretend universe of monsters, to throw sticks just to watch the dark brown cascade against the backdrop of the light brown. We wanted to know the possibility of what we could build, of what we could destroy. One day, Nick, Steve, and some older kids were playing dodgeball in the church parking lot in Stones. Tanya and I walked past them in our striped t-shirts with a sand-colored rose stitched on the top of the pocket, placed over the heart. I asked Steve's sister if we could play. I didn't know what dodgeball was, except that it was an American sport. She said yes, told me to lean against the garbage bin and wait to get hit. They aimed, hurled the stones at me, and laughed mountainously. I took the hits one by one and thought I was finally becoming American, or someone. I went home that night marinated in bruises. Ma asked me what happened. I didn't want to answer in English, so I kept quiet. The next day, I ditched everyone and found a trail behind the parking lot. I didn't invite anybody. The trail was mine and I was the trail's. Along the path, I took a break to kneel. A tear flared out of my face and converted a small pocket of dirt into mud. I gathered a few sticks and outlined in the mud an R, then A, and M. Joey, in his own wandering, found me. His knees were bruised and his face was pale. He asked me if I was okay, and I said nothing. He asked again, and I played him a song of silence. He picked up his own stick, squatted beside me, and then drew a J, then an O, then an E, our shared quietness emptying the wind. In the distance, we heard the church's anonymous melody, trembling the dirt beneath us, the sky still gray. Thank you so much.